Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Four Pillar Podcast with Ian Lashley and Matt Gottemeyer. And we have a guest today, Easton Groom. He is visiting with us. We're going to talk about, so our title is, I'm going to preface by saying, Easton is not a Chip and Dale dancer.
That's going to be my first question.
Okay. Well, Mac, you could still ask him. Maybe he used to be one or something. But the reason we did that title is Easton, right? You were a bigger guy when you were in high school and stuff. And we were kind of going to talk today about how to lose weight, build muscle mass from the youth period into an adult man kind of timeline. And because Easton went from being, just being blunt, very very chubby, big guy, and now he looks, well, reason I did it is you say he looks like a Chip and Dale dancer, I guess, now. But I mean, he's in really good shape now. He looks good, lost a bunch of weight. It just looks really good. So we're gonna let him share a story about that, and we're just gonna talk about, obviously all three of us are CPTs, and nutrition, blah blah, all that junk or stuff. But we're just gonna talk about how to lose weight as a man or a young boy, young guy into manhood, all that stuff, build muscle, lose weight, and all that good jazz. So without further ado, Easton. Well, Matt, did you want?
It's ruined now. So
I ruined. I
was going to ask him if he was moonlighting as a stripper, but obviously, I guess he's not.
That's where I'm at Tuesdays and Thursdays, actually.
Okay.
Whew.
Yeah.
We're at
The Foxhole,
They do men at the Foxhole.
On
No,
Tuesdays
I'd
and
usually
Thursdays.
just wear
Tuesdays
a
and Thursdays. Judas Priest. So go ahead, Easton. Tell us a little bit about your story. About obviously, right? I mean, you're a bigger guy, played offensive lineman in high school and stuff like that. I mean, you're not like we have you on video. But
he was an all-conference.
Oh yeah, all conference lineman. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, unless you're watching on video, if you listen to it on a podcast, like you look at him now, he's like a very fit looking guy. So, big change. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I was defensive line in high school, so I wasn't that.
I apologize, defensive line, not offensive line.
No, but I was like 280 pounds, like super chunky, really sad. I was bad shape. It was hard to do a lot of the things that I now like to do frequently, like getting into the gym twice a week was really, really tough when I first started. But yeah, no, I wanted to make a change and started researching on what to do and learned more about nutrition, and that was kind of the big key for me, was learning about nutrition. When I was in high school, I kind of just I played football, so I was really active, and I did track too, so I did a lot of sports. I was constantly doing something, but I never thought about what to eat. So it was normal to go to practice and then go to B-dubs and get the BOGO wings and get 40 chicken wings and be like, oh, whatever, I worked out today.
And I think too, the big thing happens in sports. I mean, tell me if your coaches did this, but I mean, especially most kids I think have the problem of they need to bulk up to play football or a lot of the sports, or they think they need to or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember my coach or whatever. I mean, they were kind of the whole thing, eat protein and a baked potato with sour cream on it after practice.
My dad would take me to get 3 hamburgers and a milkshake.
That's the other thing though, is a lot of times it turns into you're 16, 17, 18 years old, just freaking eat everything and anything you can and put as much of it in your face.
Yeah. No, when I was a freshman, I was 200 pounds, and I remember being told, if you get to 225 by sophomore year, I might be able to look at you for some reps. And so I got to 225, and I got a spot, and I was really happy about it. But then, from there, I just kept going and going. So, my junior year, I was 250. Senior year, I was 280. So it's just, building that, bad habit kind of messed me up to think that I just need to eat more and more to, keep getting reps and stuff like that and get bigger and bigger.
So, do you know Dylan David? But you remember Dylan David, right, Matt? Big D. That's what he even said, at college level or whatever. He's I forget what year he blew his patella out or whatever playing for Ashland, but he was saying that they were he weighed 305. I mean, he lost a bunch of weight too or whatever, but he was at 305, and they're yeah, we can get you same thing. We can get you some reps. We needed you to go to 350.
Jeez,
it's I mean, that's insane to think about. I mean, 305 is already that's a big man, dude. That's a big man.
280, I was big.
Well,
There's
right,
not a lot of people
right.
pushing you around at 280. 280 is really, really big.
Yeah.
But, yeah, 300's crazy. I don't know.
How tall are you?
I'm about 6'3". But in high school, I was a little bit shorter too, so I was like 6'1", 6'2". I feel like I got
6'1", 280.
yeah.
And not 280 of muscle.
No.
Just-
I was lifting a lot. Like we lifted really weird in football. It was very like it was all about numbers. It was very like ego centered. So it was like, how much can you bench? How much can you, do you want to get on the board? If you can lift a certain amount of weight, you get your name up on the board. Everybody has to look at it and be like, oh man, he can lift that much weight. But
Right.
it wasn't like you were.
It was all about singles and
Yeah,
maxes.
it was all about
and-
like maxes. We
Yeah.
maxed probably every 3 or 4 weeks, which isn't like crazy, but like in between that too, we were only doing reps of like 5 or 6. So it was almost like we were always maxing, and like we always wrote it down too. So there wasn't like a week of it was like using your, working range weight. It was like every week, can you get a new 5 rep max? Can you get a new 10 rep max? So I don't know how much like actually like muscle I put on. I was strong because like I was so used to those movements and
Right.
I was doing them so
But-
much.
Well, I think it's a big misconception too. Maybe sports, just like you don't have to have just because you look like you're jacked or have big muscles doesn't mean you're strong
Yeah,
or have
sure.
have the mobility or flex. Like
my
whatever.
bench is my lowest it's ever been.
Yeah,
But I lift more than I ever have, and I have more muscle than I have. But I
Right.
never bench press now.
right.
So how did you? I mean, you're getting the reps. You're obviously playing at a high level. If you made like all conference, but the way you looked and felt, how are you feeling? Just about.
I felt terrible all the time. Like, to be honest, I mean, that's what everybody says about like being heavy, but I mean, that's what.
Yeah, I mean,
It was feel
looking
terrible.
back on it, like, did you? Yeah, I mean, were you really that uncomfortable the whole time, or was it?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's times where you don't realize it that you're like that big, and it kind of takes you off when someone says something like, "Oh, you're a bigger guy, huh?" And it's like kind of takes you off, like, "Oh, wait, I am," and you have to like remember. But no, most of the time and you feel uncomfortable, and like I remember being like in those little desks in high school, and I'd feel so uncomfortable as like I'm already like a pretty wide-shouldered guy, but like
yeah,
it was so hard to just get my like belly into those little like desks that could just give you like a little bit of space to get in.
Were
I
you like
remember-
one of the biggest guys on the team?
Yeah, probably. Well, there was my buddy Austin's taller than me,
Yeah.
and he's like 6'5", so like I
Oh,
don't
geez.
really have much hope there. But he's a
Right.
big guy. But yeah, I'd say like second, third biggest guy, on the team. It was rough. It was heavy. It sucked to run. I couldn't jump rope. That was like something that really motivated me. Is we used to try to like jump rope, and I could maybe do like 5 in a row, 5 jumps, and that'd be it.
right.
But I mean, I also had like stuff in my life going on that helped me like get into that. I feel like most people who get into like weight loss probably had like a breakup. So I had like a breakup in high school, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I need to lose weight. So
Now, did you start losing weight while you were still playing football, or did you wait until like after you got done playing football?
I waited until after. I waited a
Yeah.
while after. It wasn't like I was thinking once I'm done with football, I'll lose weight, because football wasn't like the only reason. It's also because I like love to binge eat. I mean, it's still something I have to like work on.
Well, I think that brings up a good point too. Like I struggle with that as well too, and I think that stems from like once again, in order to gain weight or bulk up, you just want to like you try to eat everything you possibly can. It's like for me, like I was trying to play middle linebacker, and I couldn't like it's hard. It was super hard for me to gain weight. So I mean, I was literally eating like a ton of food. So I think that causes potentially like a psychology problem of making it harder, like, but dealing with binge eating and stuff like that. I think I struggle with the same thing as well too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially when it comes to like proteins, I'll always think that I like don't have a limit on those. So I'll just eat like as much steak or as much chicken. And I mean, if you're gonna binge eat on something, probably
Well,
make
it's probably
it
better.
protein.
It's probably better than cupcakes.
Yeah, better. But it's like everything has a portion.
Right.
Like, and I don't know, especially steak is kind of fatty. You got to think about that. And I don't know, I can just sit down. I could have like 2 or 3 ribeyes if I really wanted to, because
Yeah,
I
baby.
love steak.
I do too. What's okay? So we got some background on you there, or whatever. Is there anything else you want to share about your about?
I guess it took me a while to, I mean, to get going into working out. So it wasn't even like after my senior year. It kind of was like the start of my first semester of college is when I
So
really
some
started.
of it was maybe psychology as well too. Your
Yeah, I was finally out of the house, and like
Mhm.
I had my own options for food, and that's when I really started. Because I mean, like, to be honest, I didn't even understand like the concept of like foods that needed to be tracked. Like I kind of was just like, if you can eat a lot of food, good. Like eat as much as you
Right.
can. And it's weird. I mean, I went through all high school, and of course you like hear about calories and macros, but you don't understand, like, I don't know how meticulous you do need to track them if you do want to like change, or at least a little bit of tracking. You know, I would just eat whatever.
Right. I mean, eat 3 frozen pizzas and just work out really hard, man.
Yeah, that's exactly the mindset. That's the mindset of a lot of football players is just, well, you worked out today, you went into practice today, you know, eat whatever.
Right.
You know?
So now making the transition, what did you do to, lose weight or all that stuff? Like what did you actually do?
First thing, I recommend this too for other people. First thing is to get your BMR. Know your BMR, your basal metabolism rate, just because then you know like what your limit is every day. It's almost like making a budget for yourself. So it's like, I understand your budget daily and then stay within it. Just don't overspend what you got. If you only have 25 calories every day and you eat 26 every day, in a month you will gain weight. That's just how it works. So that was the biggest thing for me, is just figuring out I need to be in a caloric deficit. And then after that, that's when I started working more of like getting protein. I worked around with like higher fat, lower carb, worked with low carb, low fat, high protein. I've tried a lot of different like percentages, but the best one is always just having your protein high and having calories low, pretty much.
Yeah, I know there's a big like argument. I mean, there's so many ways to like do stuff, right? I mean, you can't say there's a necessarily wrong. Well, there probably is some wrong ways. Like, don't eat a bunch and make yourself throw up afterwards. that would be a wrong way to do it. But I mean, as far as like diets and stuff like that, I know Matt and I have talked a lot about this, but I mean, yeah, scientifically saying like if you take this is the amount of calories and like your lifestyle, how much you work out and all that stuff, and you eat less calories than you burn more of them, and scientifically you're supposed to lose weight. I mean, it's supposed to work like that. I know a lot of other factors go into it, and blah blah blah. But I mean, that's one of the my opinion, like one of the most highest researched ways how to lose weight and burn more calories than you eat.
Yeah.
And obviously too, that comes into like we like to use weightlift. So I know we'll ask you, did you use like weightlifting or stuff like that? Because we talk about the EPOC, EPOC. I'm gonna mess up the acronym for it. Do you remember what it stands for, Matt? Shoot, I'm gonna Google it really quick. It's gonna make me mad. Excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. So, so what that is when your body when you lift weights, like lifting weight, right? When you run, like you're doing cardio, right? Cardio, you're just burning calories. You're not really building muscle. You're actually even technically burning muscle potentially when you run on the treadmill. Yeah. But when you lift weights, you're building muscle mass, and your body has to go through all that stuff to repair the broken down muscle tissue and all that stuff. So from 24 to 48 hours after you get done like lifting weights, your body is still using calories. You're still burning extra calories from your weightlifting session versus that you're not burning when you do cardio. And depending on how intense your weight training was and all that stuff, I know I thought I roughly had the statistic of how many calories it was, but I know I'm probably going to be wrong, and someone's going to yell at me and say I'm being crazy. But it could be anywhere from an extra 100 to 200 calories you potentially are going to burn over the course of 24 to 48 hours, even more or less, depending on, like I said, your intensive session was, that you wouldn't get if you do other forms of exercise. That's what EPOC stands for. Yeah,
I never really tracked the EPOC at all. Like I don't know about.
I know a lot. I mean, a lot of people don't know about it, but that's like one of the benefits of using weightlifting.
Yeah. I didn't start weightlifting right away. I got into nutrition and like dieting first. I had been doing like weightlifting like my whole life, so I didn't really see too much value in it yet. I was like, I always weightlifted and it never worked, so I got to do something new. Which is like a diet. And I had dieted before, kind of, but like not really like kept to a diet, So I started dieting, and the first thing I did in the gym like was actually cardio, which I don't know how you feel on going to the gym and spending 40 minutes on cardio. Probably not.
Oh, I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with cardio.
Probably better things I could have been doing to like make progress faster. But I would just go and jump rope because I was so mad that I never knew how to jump rope, and I
Absolutely
kind of wanted to be like, well, look at this, now I can jump rope really well. So I would just go to the gym, and I was also like embarrassed for people to see me, which is like another thing about when you're bigger is like you're very insecure always, especially about like your own image. I mean, everybody still has a piece of that, I'm sure, but I would just go into like a side room at my school gym, and I'd just do jump rope for like 40 minutes. And I had a little Fitbit that I liked, and I liked to track my heart rate and like make sure it gets over like 130. And then, but that was all my workout consisted of, was just jump rope.
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's how you got down to what we see today?
No, I got to, well, just by jump roping, I probably got to 250. So I probably did lose like 20 pounds just jump roping and tracking my calories. And then I went on a big trip in Wyoming and like went hiking for a bunch of days. When I came back from hiking, I probably lost 10 pounds there too because I packed way too little food. That was like accidental. So like 10 of my pounds that I lost are like kind of accidental because I went to the Tetons and I hiked for like 3 or 4 days and ran out of food like on the second night. Yeah, it was terrible. Well, it was a great experience, but it was kind of terrible. But yeah, the biggest was going from like 240, 230-ish down to like 210 where I'm at now. And that's when I really had to like, I plateaued for probably a month or two, and I was just like, man, well, jump roping and being in the calories I'm at right now just aren't doing it. But I guess that's also the thing. If you track your calories and you lose weight, you're going to now need a little bit less calories because your BMR is going to just kind of keep going down and down depending on like your percentage of deficit that you're in. And at the time, I wasn't building any muscle really, so it wasn't like my BMR would go up from getting muscle. So I was probably eating at the same level I was when I was 280, when I was like 240, and I plateaued, and I didn't really understand that. So I started looking into muscle training and like hypertrophy training, bodybuilding. Got really into like, not like, I don't know, when you say the word bodybuilding, people think like competitive bodybuilding, but it's also, I kind of like use it as the term is just like body sculpting. Like you're kind of just treating your muscles more of like a sculpture, and you're kind of thinking
it's kind of a different type of you're going to use a lot of different rep ranges and sets and stuff like that, and exercises that you work. And
I almost no compound movements too.
Right.
When I first started, I wanted to avoid. Oh, the other thing that was going on in my life is I had a broken wrist still too. I had no surgery, so that was the other reason I wasn't really lifting. It's because broke my wrist playing football in high school. Got it fixed when I was a senior. The surgery didn't take, so the bone never like fully came together. And so I didn't really like lift because I was like, oh, well, my wrist is messed up. Like, do I keep going on it? Like,
no, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but tell me, this was awesome. Right. You told me you were putting like wraps, like a wrist wrap around your wrist, and you were doing or no, was it your elbow?
No, it was around, I would wrap my wrist and
you were doing the rows and stuff. You were what was the lat pull downs? You tell me like you wanted to work your back, but your wrist was broke. But you were using the elbow? Like
I would do a couple different things. When my wrist was broken, I really got into it. I learned that like your elbow path is really what dictates like what muscle you work in your back. And so what I do is I just wrap like one of those like ankle wraps for like the cable machines, either around like my bicep or like you could do it around your wrist. And then if you want to work your back, you kind of, instead of having to like have something to hold on to or like trying to do a lateral raise with something when your wrist can't go, cannot move at all, then you can just kind of put something there, lateral raise with a cable machine or row with a cable machine or do like a rear delt type of like rotate up.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking about this. This would actually activate your back more than using your hand.
Yeah, well, because you're pronated and you can't use your bicep.
Right, because it takes your bicep completely out of the movement.
Yeah, so it worked pretty well. I liked it. It was annoying just because you have to find more stuff in the gym when you get there. And sometimes the things didn't work all the way. Like sometimes if you're trying to use a D handle and you've got your hand through, it just roll off your hand and then bam, it makes like a huge thing and everybody's looking at you. And you're already like chunky in the gym, so you're kind of just like, and people are looking at you.
You just had a 40-year-old lady doing step ups on a aerobics box, just have a heart attack.
Yeah, she just completely stopped and look at you.
But one thing I think that's incredible about that too is how long did it take you to figure out how to do that?
That took a while. Yeah. I don't know what came over me, but I was like completely lost in college. I originally went to school wanting to be a pilot. I don't know if people know that, but I wanted to be a pilot.
Okay, that's super cool.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I had it's like a family friend, but I'm good friends with him. He's like 60. He's way older than me, but he's like my friend. And we would go, he's got a little plane, and we would go fly all the time when I was in high school. Like anytime that there was good weather, we'd fly down to like, what's that big lake up there? Lake Erie.
Yeah.
And, like go get pie up there and stuff. So I loved flying. It was so fun. And I don't know, I went to school and like I didn't have one pilot type class. It was all like business classes. And like as I looked into the profession more, I was like, oh, this looks terrible. And so I was like, what do I do? And I was like at the same time trying to lose weight. And I was like, well, I am having a lot of fun just like going to the gym, even if I'm jump roping and I'm like I'm maybe spending like 20 minutes on the weights. Like, I'm having a lot of fun doing that. Like that'd be cool if I could just like do that like most of the day, or like kind of show people. At this point I'd already lost probably 20 or 30 pounds. So I was like, I'm doing good. Like maybe this is something I could do. And so I don't know when exactly, but at some point it like became an obsession, and I kind of just started like watching every video that I could. Like my podcasts at night that I'd listen to were like fitness podcasts, and like every YouTube video I watched, every show I watched, like I'd watch like Arnold became like such a big figure, Ronnie Coleman, a lot of like those like old classic bodybuilders who had like a lot of success in the Olympia. Like I watched so many documentaries about them, and I don't know, I guess just like over time I picked up a lot of stuff and kind of like started learning and experimenting with things of my own that I thought would work from like seeing other people do similar stuff. But yeah, it just became like an obsession, and I kind of like just had to figure out how can I move my body in like the best way to like get a lot from an action, like in not a lot amount of time too. Cause I still was going to school full time. So I, at max had like an hour and a half in the gym if I really wanted to put in a lot of time. Now though, I do probably like 45 minutes to an hour just cause I've gotten more efficient, and I'm always doing random reps here and there during the day.
I think that shows like two amazing things. One, I don't believe it's obsession. I believe it's passion, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a huge difference, because I think when people like, one, I think people just get uncomfortable because like you want to make yourself better, right? You want to be healthier and do all this other stuff. And you say you become obsessed with this. I don't think it's obsession. I think it's a passion to want to make yourself better. And I think a lot of people look at things where they say, oh, you're addicted or obsessed with business or with, working out or all this. I think it's a bunch of BS. If you ask me, it's a passion, right? You become passionate about something that's amazing. Like obsession and addiction is something you use when like you're doing something bad. I think, but I'm just saying, I think that's awesome. It shows, you can, even at a young age, you can become passionate about something and improve yourself and like do something amazing with your life. That's what you did. That's what you're doing. And the second thing I think it shows about is just overcoming things, like just because, right, like for example, you could say, because I'm so overweight I can't go to the gym, or I broke my wrist, so I can't work out. And that's, instead of letting that like control your life and all that crap, man, you said, I'm gonna freaking do back roads with my elbow, baby.
Yeah.
If that doesn't get you going, Matt,
Nothing well.
Yeah, no, I just say that's super impressive. I just want to compliment that. But I mean, that's
I appreciate that. Yeah.
But I think like also it can be an inspiration of even at like a young age or whatever, even like in high school to whenever, being younger. You don't have to let stuff control like what you want to do with your life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of guys that I know in high school and football, and like they played and they've kind of got like their path that they're on, and like what they've kind of accepted for their body too, and they kind of just stay there. And then I've got friends who are kind of fighting that and like trying to stay in the good shape and understand you don't have to be as big because you're not playing football anymore. Right. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to just get up one day and know that you like want to change. There's usually some type of like motivator. At least that was for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think there's a big difference between as far as when you're a teenager, right? Going into, are you 20 now?
I'm 20.
20.
Yep.
So, I mean, what I would say basically transition from being like a teenager into a man, right? I mean, what age do you think you become a man?
What age?
Yeah, I mean, would you say you're one?
No,
no,
not yet.
No, I bet you are, but
I'm working on it.
But I would consider like when you turn 20, like you're out of your teens. I mean, you're starting to come into your
There's 100 different ways to look at it.
I know
you can
there's-
say when you have your first kid. You can say when you get married. You can say, I mean, if you're 30 years old and still living with your parents, are you
Well,
a man yet?
Okay,
I mean,
no, I guess I meant physically become like I say you're pretty close.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean you're starting
physically, yeah. I
yeah,
think your prime is like probably Austin's age to like 27 or something.
Yeah.
Is when you're going to be.
I'm not saying, yeah, I mean, you want to take definitions of man. Like, yeah, if you're 30 years old and have kids with 5 different women and live with your parent in your parents' basement, yeah, you're not much of a man. But
Well, if you have 5 kids with 5 different women at any age,
well,
you're not much
okay,
of a man, yeah.
well, correct.
Living with your mom or not living with your mom.
I was about to say,
gotcha.
living with your mom's pretty awesome. I just gotta say, guys, don't diss it.
Well, you said something earlier about being on your own. Were you just talking about
Yeah.
being on a campus somewhere?
No, yeah, I was on
Wow.
campus for a bit. I ran out of money, so I was like, I need to come back.
20 years old, I don't think is that. You know, if you're still doing that 5-10 years from now, then I think
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I lived with my parents. I think I was 20 or 21, roughly about. So, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I was more talking physically developing.
No, I
there's a
gotcha.
big difference between a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old physically. So would you say there's anything different that, like, you gave us? Figure out your BMR. Burn more calories than you're eating, all that good stuff, which is awesome advice. So would you change anything or tell anybody different now from like what you do like when you were in high school versus what you would do now, like versus being 16, 17, 18, 16, 17, 18 years old, high school versus now being 20, going into your 20s?
I guess just like focus on yourself more. It's like, I don't know. There's a lot of push to focus on career, which is good, and you might be focusing on like starting a family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's always good to focus on yourself and take time to accomplish whatever goal it is. If it's gym related and you're like 18, 19, 20, now's the time to do it, I think, for sure. Like, don't push it off, because I did, like, as hard as it was and about like how much hard work it is, I also have clients who aren't 20 years old and they're
they
40,
wish they would have done it when
yeah.
they were your age.
Exactly, because now it's a little bit tougher. They've got more responsibility. They have, more issues, whether it be joints or, previous surgeries, whatever it is with their body.
The metabolism isn't what it was when
metabolism,
you're.
Yeah, you have the option. Like, if you're able to right now, if you're 17 to 22, that could even all the way up in the 20s, I'm sure. But if you have the chance to now, do it now, because it's only going to get harder. And I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Well,
but.
I think you lost 70 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
All right. You just kind of told us your story, and it wasn't some humongous thing that you had to conquer. I mean,
No. Yeah. It
how many
like
when you were going to the gym? How many days a week?
I started at 2 days a week. I started just going Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I thought that was good. And it's fine. It's better than my 0 days a week that I went, from football season ending until me going pretty much that next year,
Right.
at my first semester of college. So 2 days a week to get into it, and then, I maybe maxed at like 4 or 5. I don't think I ever was like 7. Like, I never was every single day.
4 or 5 days a week for about a year and a half, 45 minutes to an hour and a half every time you go in.
Yep.
That's something anybody can do, no matter what their schedule is, no matter what's going on with their life. And I think people just think, well, I can't, 70 pounds, I can't do this, and it's going to be so hard. And right? I'm sure your first workout wasn't the hardest workout you ever did, but you just had to do one to kind of your first day.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
And you go in the next day, and like you said, you started to enjoy it.
Yeah, no,
right? And it's
for sure. Like, my brother-in-law, he's like, well, you don't want to. Sometimes people, for some reason, I don't know why it is. Maybe it's just fitness, but people always try to like tell you things that are like just not on your path. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes people just tell you the most random stuff. It's like, why do I need to hear that? Like, he was like, well, you don't want to get super ripped because then it's so hard to maintain. And I was like, what? Why would you say that? I don't know. To me, that was like the dumbest thing I'd ever heard.
I'm sure, Matt. You're like 70 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I mean, Easton, I think that's something where you're going to hear the rest of your life. I mean,
It's so weird.
Yeah, I've heard random crap like that. Same thing with the business. Owning my own business. Why would you want to make that much money and work all these hours to donate in a business? Like why is whatever your goal is with the business is like, well, why would you want to make that much money or not make that much money, or why would you want to work for yourself, or I mean, there's
and you're going to hear
so
it
much
from
crap.
people who aren't doing what you're doing too.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. But it's like, even with people who think it's so hard to maintain, or maybe a lot of people think that like you have to come in and do that big like challenging exercise, and like maybe you see people like Ryan in the gym, like Shelby's husband Ryan, who's huge, and he does like a lot of really hard. I see like some of the stuff he does, it's like really heavy, really hard, and like really interesting workouts. And it's like, yeah, because he's been doing it for a long time. He's bored just doing the beginner workouts.
Right.
Give yourself a little grace. Just go do a beginner workout. You don't have to do what he's doing. Like, he's done it, all of that. Like, everybody who looks good in the gym that you've seen has done that first beginner workouts where they weren't crazy. They were probably 30 minutes, and it was probably like very simple lifts, probably just machines. Like, you're not just going to start and it's going to be so hard that, I don't know, you're not going to work yourself to death like for the first week that you try and go. Like, give yourself a little time. I don't know.
People just need to keep showing up.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in here and they start, and if, like you said, you hit a plateau, you didn't just quit.
Yeah,
you
tried to
figured
find
out
something
what
new.
you had to do to get past that.
And fasting, I forgot to talk about fasting. Fasting really helped with that plateau.
I like fasting a lot too. Matt
Or
does.
people, they don't see any progress, so they quit. And it's just like, just keep coming.
Yeah, for sure. Consistency was like the biggest thing, especially with like picking up, like becoming good at jump rope. Like, if you feel like you're coming into the gym and you're really bad at a certain lift, well, you're not going to get better at it not doing it.
Right.
So it's like, what's really even the point of you bringing yourself down, telling yourself you're so bad at it? Like, oh, I'm so bad at bench. I tried bench, but it's so bad.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Well, none of us could walk the first time we tried that either.
Exactly.
It took some practice.
Exactly. It's like, I don't understand the point. Just keep coming up, keep trying, keep doing it. If you are sad that you're bad at it, do it more.
Yes, like I like to too. I think one thing everybody can take out of like listening to you talk is set metrics for yourself. Even if it's something simple, like, I mean, you don't do anything crazy. You're like, I want to get better at jump roping. Like, and you set like how I get my heart rate to this. I can do more jump rope, like, and jump rope for this long, whatever. I mean, that's just simple stuff, but it made you stay consistent and like work harder at it. And it's like, don't overcomplicate it. Just keep it simple. And I think too, the interesting thing we talked about, like we tell clients this a lot. Like staying consistent, right? So I did the math here. You said you lost 70 pounds, and that'd be 18 months roughly.
Yeah.
Right. That comes out to about 3.8 pounds a month. What's the average fat loss? We tell people it's about.
2.5.
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually that'd be more of an aggressive.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, that's completely doable, but I mean, the average weight loss is about a pound to a pound and a half a week of actual fat mass. That
4 to 6 a month or something.
Yeah, it's like 4 to 6 a month is pretty average, but I mean, even 2 to 4 would be, on the conservative side of average of actual fat loss, not fluctuation of water weight and all that jazz.
Oh, you're not saying weight, you're saying just fat loss percentage.
Yeah, I'm saying literally just losing the actual body fat. Because I mean, your body's gonna, you might lose more weight or whatever, but it's gonna be, watered, all this other stuff, like actual body fat. And that, that's awesome. You basically stuck about every month you lost about 4 pounds, about 1 pound a week, and I mean, you just stayed on it.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's huge because people
seemed easy.
People want to lose 70 pounds in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Or they might go, oh, that's going to take. If you tell them in a consultation, maybe, well, this might take a year. That might discourage them, right? Or if I talk to people about the way they might have to eat, and they're like, oh, I've got to do this for the rest of my life. No, you don't have to do it for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah. No.
But let's say this takes a year in your age. That's a very small blip of time in the span of your whole life. So you made these sacrifices, you kind of did the hard work, and now it's over, and you look back on it, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it looking back on it. It was fun to watch the scale go down.
Yeah.
I've been at 210 for a little bit, and it's mostly just because I love to binge eat again. It's kind of just like I'll have like 2 good weeks and then have a week that's bad, and so I'm kind of staying at 210 right now. But no, it was so fun when it was, all I had to do was simply track, and I could easily shed and watch the scale keep going. It was a good time. It was fun. It wasn't that hard. I will recommend people like skip what I did for the first like 20 pounds, which was just like practically starve myself. Like, don't do that. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I lost weight way easier eating protein and sticking on my calories. When I was just starving myself, like I was so tired. I didn't want to go to the gym more than twice a week. Like, that first 20 pounds sucked because I had kind of like done these practices that people had, like, you know, you hear it all the time. Oh, you just starve yourself, or like don't eat, you know. That's not the best way to do it.
Which there's a big difference between starving yourself and fasting. Like what's
So if you're gonna intermittent fast, don't like, all you want to do is don't eat past like 9 o'clock and then just wait till like noon or so to eat. You don't have to do like this crazy, you know, huge fast. I kind of just make it so my fasted hours were when I was most of the time I was just asleep, you know, and then I just woke up, set a breakfast, maybe have like black coffee or water or, you know, tea, whatever it is. Relax for a bit. By noon, that's when you start feeling hungry again, you know. Fasting was really big key when I hit the plateau. I forgot about that, but that really helped. And I liked to work out fasted too. That was nice.
You're a big fan of fasting too, Matt. I know we got to wrap it up here.
I got someone
at noon.
At noon, you guys can keep talking, but yeah, I've been doing the fasting for 3 or 4 years. I don't know that I'll ever not do it. I mean,
same thing. Like, we're getting ready for my fight. That's what I think helped me lose. I lost. I went from 230 to 209.
I was wondering what happened with you, because you started just all of a sudden leaning, and me and Barbie actually talked about it one day. We were like, Ian's really leaning out for this fight. He's really leaning out.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I think that's cool too. Like, people, if you are able to get to like a weight where you are like healthy, losing 20 pounds or, you know, whatever you did makes you stand out even more. Like, you didn't have to do 70 pounds to look great, because you were already at like a really healthy, comfortable. But yeah, if you shed that little extra, now you look, you know.
I'm gonna be honest. I did about 10 of those the way you're not supposed to do it. I water cut.
Yeah,
so
there's probably some bad practices sometimes.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to share, Easton, or like about your story or anything, or just?
I just think
whatever?
Anybody can do it for sure. That's the big takeaway. Is when I did it, I was like, of course I was trying really hard and I was focused and like my will, but at the same time I did it in like the dumbest way. Like, I had $0 to my name too. So I like ate mostly tortillas and like chicken drumsticks. So don't do it like in a dumb way like that. Like, and if I did it doing it that dumb way where all I ate was like drumsticks and tortillas, and then like, you know, binge eat after that, after having drumsticks for a week, like, you can do it, but just by sticking to like a normal diet of like 20% deficit, even less, like 15% deficit of your BMR, and you can still eat most of what you want, just in the correct portion. I don't know. I feel anybody could do it. That's what I think.
I love that.
And just before we wrap up, what are your hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays down there?
Down at the Fox Club?
Yeah.
It's from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., so yeah.
Wow, that's quite a shift.
It's rough. Guys get handsy at around 11 every night. But
You said the guys or the women?
the guys. No, you heard me right. Yeah. The guys.
Hey, thanks for listening. Please give us a follow on the Google Podcast or Apple Podcast. Subscribe, and you get a notification every time we post a podcast. And thank you for listening. It's the 4 Pillar Podcast. If you believe it, you can achieve it. And we'll have to have Easton back again. I like talking to him.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.